it's Shell from Scrap Secrets and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is part of the Team Tiny November hop, which is a hashtag driven hop. I'll talk a little bit more about that as we go through the video. Our theme for this month was to create a Christmas or a holiday card. So I'm going to be using a pre-made 5.5 by 6 inch black card base, a scrap of pattern paper, as well as a scrap of Bristol cardstock, this layering stencil from Hero Arts, as well as some Honeybee Stamps products. So we're going to be using the bow from this stamp set, as well as the coordinating stencil, and also I did not show it here, but we will be using a sentiment stamp set from Honeybee. So right now I'm putting down the first layer of the stencil, marking it out so that I can see where this bow is going to be stamped to make sure that it's not too high or too low, so it looks like it's actually on the wreath. We are going to be doing some masking for this. So I'm going to stamp it down in some Lawn Fawn jet black ink, and then I already have a mask from another project cut out, so I'm just going to put that into place after the ink has dried for a couple minutes. It doesn't take long for it to dry, but I just gave it just a couple seconds to dry and set in. And then we're going to do the first layer. So I'm using Distress Oxides today, and the first layer that I'm using with Stencil A is Pine Needles. And I did this color combination in one of my cards the other day, and I loved the way the two colors look together. So the first stencil is going to be Pine Needles. We're going to take that off, and then we're going to put it to the side to let it dry. Distress Oxides stay wet for a little bit longer, so we're actually going to work on the background. I'm taking some Rustic Wilderness and just going around the edges of this pattern paper and giving a little bit of color to the edges. I think it gives it a little bit more dimension and it just gives a little bit more interest to the pattern paper. So I'm going around all four edges and I'm going to put that to the side. And now that the ink from the first layer on the stencil has dried, we're going to put on layer B. So you don't want to do the layers too quickly because the colors will blend into each other and you don't get a big difference. I don't think I let it dry long enough. I probably should have either hit it with my heat tool or let it dry a little bit longer. But again, I'm impatient, so you can't really see a huge difference, but we're going to doctor it up a little bit. So I'm putting on Stencil C, and we're going to be using Festive Berries to go around. It's very easy to line these up. There are the branches, or the second layer, layered nicely on top of the first, and then the berries go into that opening. And then the fourth layer, this is D, we're going to be using some ice spruce to go around the edges, and there are some holly leaves. I end up not loving this color combination, so we do something different in the end. I'm going back in with the Festive Berries and using the coordinating stencil from that bow stamp, and we are going to be coloring it in. Then I'm going to be using a darker color. So this one is, I believe this is Barn Door, either Barn Door or Fired Brick. I can't remember which one I used, but you'll see it in a second. And Barn Door. So then I'm using that to color in where the areas would be the darkest. But even with this, even though we use two different colors, we are going to go ahead and kick it up a notch in a minute. So I'm going to go back in and add the center to the bow because that would be one of the darkest areas because it's pressed in. And then I didn't really like the way that the wreath looked because the bow was outlined in black and the wreath was not. So I took a Micron 05 pen and going around and doing all of the leaves first, the holly leaves, and then I'm going to go around and do the wreath. So you guys have to let me know in the comments if you like it better without it. Should I have just done, instead of doing the stamped for the bow, should I have just done the stencil? Let me know what you think. So while you're watching me do this, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Team Tiny. So we are a group of crafters who have paper crafting YouTube channels who have less than 1,000 subscribers. We come together monthly with a theme, and our videos are shorter and they're about 15 minutes long, usually is the longest ones. And then there are no ads in our videos, so no ad breaks during our videos because we have less than 1,000 subscribers. So most of us are actively trying to grow our channels. Other people are just doing this so that they have a theme to sit down and when they're going to do videos, and it makes them accountable for doing videos. I kind of fall into all of the above. It really stretches my creativity. It allows me to continue to make videos for you guys, and it gives me a purpose, a reason to do a video. And then I also am looking to actively grow my channel. So I love when I get new subscribers. I love when I see the number go up. I know that the number doesn't really mean anything, but it's just really nice to see new people come onto the channel. So I hope you guys are loving this and giving you guys ideas for Christmas cards. The hop is a hashtag driven one, so the hashtag will be in the video title. So you're just going to click on that and you'll be able to see everybody's videos that are participating in this hop. So I have now outlined everything with the exception of the branches in the middle. I will do something with that in a minute, but I'm going back in and adding the line down the center of the holly leaves because I thought it looked really, really plain. And then I don't love the way it turned out, but we will fix that in a minute. So now I'm going in with some Prismacolor colored pencils and adding some shading. Normally I would just let this go and, I did two-toned of Distress Oxide and I would let it go at that. But I'm really loving the way that colored pencils just add another dimension to your images. I'm getting better at using colored pencils. I was actually talking to some of my friends and I said, I'm not good with colored pencils. And one of them said, yes, you are. I said, no, watercolor pencils. I'm totally fine with those. Not great. I'm not going to say I'm great, but I'm good with those. It's regular pencils that I struggle with. But I really like the way this came out. I picked 2 shades of red. This one's more of a true red and the other one has a little bit of maroon in it. But I figured it would add some dimension to this. And, I just do what I think would be right. I've never really taken, other than the talented art classes I took in middle school, which was, don't even want to tell you how many years ago that is. But I never really took any other art classes other than that. And, the ones that you were made to take in elementary school. So I probably could really benefit from going to class, but I just kind of do what feels right to me. Once I'm happy with the way the bow looks, I am going to add some sparkle because every card needs some sparkle. I'm going to take out my Spectrum Noir sparkle pen and go ahead and go over all of the areas on the bow with that to give it a little bit of shine. Because of the way that the bow turned out with the colored pencil on top of it, I'm going to go ahead and take 2 shades of green and do some detail work to the rest of the wreath. I'm going to take the lighter shade of green, and I believe it's just called Very Green. And I'm going to go over the branches. So that would be the second layer of the stencils. I'm going to go all around it and just add a little bit of shading to that. So by doing that, it brings out that layer. Because I used Distress Oxides, and I didn't really let them dry for long enough in between the layers, they kind of almost went together, like if you were blending a background and you were blending one color on top of the other. They kind of mixed together and it lost a lot of that detail. Using colored pencils will definitely let you go back in and add some of that texture. So once I've finished with the lighter color, I actually take the darker color as well and go back in and add a little bit more detail to the wreath. This is a technique that I don't do very often, but I'm going to start to because I'm loving the results. I love the extra detail that it gives when you use the colored pencil over the Distress Oxides. Oh, I am now going over all of those holly leaves. I didn't like the shade that I chose. I chose Ice Spruce, which is really pretty, but I don't think that it went well with the wreath. So I just went in with one of the colored pencils and just added some color on top of that, and it completely changed the look of the holly leaves. I wanted a sentiment to go in the middle and I couldn't find anything. I wanted to do Christmas actually straight across it, but I wasn't sure if all of that oxide was dry and I didn't want to fight with it. So I chose the word joy from the Honeybee Stamps Bitty Buzzword Holiday, I think it's called Holiday Sentiments. So these are buildable sentiments, and there was a really pretty Christmas, there's a really pretty scripty Mary in the same font as this joy, but I just thought the joy would look really pretty in there because it doesn't have to be for somebody that celebrates Christmas. I can send this out to pretty much anybody. And I'm using some Martha Stewart Antique Gold embossing powder. This embossing powder, again, is like 10 years old, and it still works perfectly. I used some Hero Arts embossing ink cube to ink that stamp up, and I just put it on my stamp block, stamped it down, sprinkled the powder over top of it, flicked off any excess, and then used my heat gun to heat it up. I heated up the back of the paper as well because it warped a little bit. And now I'm going to take my corner chomper and use the 1/4 inch side to go around the edges. I actually did cut this piece of cardstock down just a tiny bit. And I don't remember if I said, but this is Bristol Smooth cardstock. And I love how blending comes out on this cardstock. It's my favorite to use. I think it comes out so beautifully. You get a great result. Or at least I get a great result off of Bristol Smooth cardstock. So I'm going around the edges with that Rustic Wilderness just to make it match the pattern paper, using my ATG to add glue to the entire back of it, trying to add as much as possible because of all the warping. And then I'm going to place it on top of that pattern paper. And I wanted to originally do some foam tape on the back of the piece that we just put down, the wreath piece, but I decided against that. However, I decided it needed to pop off the card, so I am using it on the pattern paper. Just taking the roll and cutting off pieces, and then I'm just going to peel the backing off. Very easy to do. I use my craft pick because sometimes my nails get in the way. They are really long now, and those are mine. The girls try to pull them off all the time. Those are my real nails, so they keep telling me that I have extensions and fake nails, and both of them are real. I attached the card front to the card base, and I'm going to do one more thing to try to make the branches stand out a little bit more. I took my white gel pen, just kind of scratched it on top of the inked up and the colored penciled image. It gave it a really cool texture, and I was really happy with this. I've never done this before, and I just thought it looked really good. Did that around all of the edges, and then that's it for the card. So I hope that you guys hop along with us. Again, click the hashtag in the title of the video. Check out everybody's videos. Can't wait to see what everyone makes. And I will see you guys again real soon for another video. Bye!